My home is East Frisia, and because I'm from East Frisia, my name is Jann, with a double N, which linguistically makes no sense at all. And therefore I'm exposed to East Frisian jokes everywhere I go. And to counteract this, I've written a text with the title, My East Frisia. It's 1969. My girlfriend is 6 years old and drowns in the North Sea. It's the worst accident in East Frisia since 2 mayors. We counted mayors because they're always in office for exactly 30 years, alive or not. But I sit at the table with my family. I've just turned 4, my full beard just turned 2. My father, my mother, my big brother, Jann with 1 N, my little brother, Jann with 3 N, and I are sitting in our indoor Frisian raincoats in front of a colorfully assembled stew of Jever Pilsener. East Frisia happens to have the highest percentage of underage alcoholics in Germany. As the land, so the Jever. Life-threatening. My father proudly tells me that tomorrow he will be working, he's a steel torturer like all the men in our tribe, in a place called Ruhrgebiet in faraway Germany. He says it's an ugly place, which of course I can hardly imagine our vacation domicile where fish waste is dumped on the streets. Astonished, I ask what else he could tell me about this Germany. He told me about Saxony, where all the vowels were umlauts, and in the very south there was Bavaria, inhabited only by obese, speech-impaired grandfathers. About East Westphalia, well, no, he didn't have anything to say about East Westphalia for several pages now. Apparently you're doing a great job. Very great. Everybody should go there. Then there were the stingy Swabians, who lived next to the Badensers, who were also Swabians, but didn't want to admit that. He told me about Hessians, little hairy goblins who live in the forest under trees and stones. So I became curious about the image of our beautiful homeland in these bizarre fantasy regions. So the bearded boy asked, "What do the Germans say about East Frisia?" I'd never seen my father cry before. Probably because he wore 2 eye patches, but the sea crack in his voice came close to it. "They make East Frisian jokes about how we're backward and stupid," he spoke, as he lined the freezer crosswise with eels, homemade fish sticks. I was so disturbed by the idea that the whole country was making jokes about our people that I screamed, like our pet seagull, back then, when the blacksmith had euthanized her. Requesting divine assistance, I fled to what we call churches, and you call bus stops. I swallowed my chewing tobacco and began to pray. Dear Poseidon, please make that there's finally peace in the Middle East. Sure, breaches of agreement and territorial claims are important, I was a very smart kid, but neither people is held by war. Neither Hochziel nor Wangerooge, and please give East Frisia's greatest rhetorician, history baser from Scooter, the answer to the question of being. How much is the fish? Because as long as we don't know how much fish costs, the East Frisian economy will never recover. And please, make the rest of the country stop making jokes about us. They're already allowed to live on the continent and even reproduce outside their cycle of relatives. Isn't that enough? Before I could appease the other gods by sacrificing a newborn to Captain Blue Bear, the annual mail delivery arrived at the harbor. The carrier seal was exhaustedly pulling a much too large container full of letters and packages. I took the rope from its neck and brutally hammered its skull. I know you think they're cute, but this is not your conflict. There will never be peace between our tribes. Among the packages was a book in reasonably good condition. The most popular East Frisian jokes of the Hessians. Because the story hasn't followed any logic for some time, my 4-year-old self began to read. How many East Frisians do you need to milk a cow? 24. 4 people hold the 4 teats, and 20 men lift the cow up and down. But that was wrong. It only takes 17 men to lift cows up and down. Isn't that what you learn in 1st grade in cow and crab education? Why are there high and low tides? Because the water gets scared every time it sees the East Frisians. Wrong again. Tides are caused by periodic interaction or lunar gravitational force and Earth rotation, as one also learns in 1st grade in cow and crab education. Moin, how many East Frisians do you need to change a light bulb? Even the premise was total garbage here. We don't have electricity at all, because the words plus and minus mean exactly the same thing in Low German, namely bleh. And nobody in East Frisia says moin twice. Moin. At most, that's what the traumatized boy says, who always says everything twice. Moin. At most, that's what his traumatized boy says, who always says everything twice. Then the scales fell from my eyes. They don't really think we're backward and stupid. They mistook us for Emslanders. To explain that, Emsland is something like North Korea, just without dictatorship. They live like that voluntarily. So apart from the fact that every year 2 children from all these Frisian islands were sent as tributes, fighting each other for life and death, everything was fine. Because still Jann swore that one day he would travel the stages of the country to tell the audience, it's fine, that you're making fun of the wrong people, as long as we don't have to live in the Emsland.